TSK F1. My name's Rich, and normally in this slot in the day I do a bit of a news show. But today I thought I'd do something a little bit different because we are on the eve of testing eve. We're nearly there. The 2023 season is upon us, and I thought it might be a bit of an idea to do a bit of a testing preview and have a conversation about it and see what other people, what your input into testing and what you think we're going to see happen is. So don't forget to hit the like on the stream and also subscribe to the channel. Now, I do just want to confirm that I've got some sound coming through, guys. It'd be very nice if you could let me know, because I decided to use the sort of normal broadcast type mic instead of my headset today, which feels very weird because normally whenever I stream I'm using the headset, so it feels very, very strange not to have the headset on. But yeah, we're going to have a bit of a testing preview. I'm going to let you know the times when testing is on and what coverage we're going to have. So I've realised just before I went live that my massive head covers this graphic that I made, but testing is going to run. Thank you very much, Neil. Nigel. Thank you very much. I remember the last name. Thank you very, very much for the letting us know there. Now, testing is going to run 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of February. And we are going to be here on TSK F1 3 times a day, or I'm going to try and be here 3 times a day over that period. So 9 a.m. you're going to have this slot where it's going to be the latest F1 news, but then beyond that we're going to be having the latest testing. Now, we'll only be an hour and a half deep into testing, but there may be some news. So this time tomorrow, they will be testing already. They'll already be driving, and we may well have some surprises that I will bring to you straight away, 9 a.m. And hopefully we do have some surprises. And then I'm aiming for 2 o'clock to have sort of an after lunch testing update to bring you sort of the latest news, what's happened in the morning, who's fast, who's slow, what we've seen, who's crashed, and whether anyone's unreliable or anything like that. And then around 5 o'clock, hopefully, there's going to be a daily sort of testing roundup where you where I'll just be, well, it does what it says on the tin, bringing you a roundup of the latest testing stuff. So please do make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification button so that you get notified every single time TSK F1 goes live, because the week after we're into the race and there's going to be watch-alongs galore in that. Morning, Harry and Gled. How are you doing, guys? How are you doing? So this is just really a bit of a preview, and I really want a little bit of interaction with you guys and what you think we're going to see. Now, we're going to be, well, they are already, no doubt, already set up in Bahrain, ready for testing. Everyone should know the Bahrain test, well, the Bahrain track, not the Bahrain test track. But I thought it was a good idea to sort of go over a few things because there's so many new fans of Formula One, and some of the viewers might be new to Formula One. This might be their first sort of testing period within Formula One, and they might not know really what's going down and what it's all about. So I thought I'd run through some stuff. So the Bahrain track that the F1 teams are at for testing is exactly the same as they're going to be at for next week's first race. And I know that seems a pretty obvious statement, but others may well not know it's a thing. And they're doing this, I think they're saying that they're doing this for the environmental reasons, but it makes complete sense. Now, why is this such a thing? There used to be multiple testing periods before the season. In fact, testing used to be unlimited back in the day. So any team or driver could hire out any track and go testing whenever they felt like it. And a story I've told quite a few times on stream before is Michael Schumacher back in at his peak, flying back to Fiorano, where we saw the Ferrari launch this season. In between sessions at the Nürburgring in Germany, he would finish free practice 1, fly back to Fiorano, do laps of testing, fly back to the Nürburgring, do free practice 2, fly back to Fiorano and do more laps. So it used to be completely unlimited. And then costs just spiraled, and this cost cap, while it's a new thing, cost has been an issue within Formula One for years and years and years. So they decided unlimited testing was too much. I think Williams back in the day used to do a lot as well when we're talking about their sort of dominance. Maybe also sort of around the Mansell era, early 90s. I think they did tons of testing. And it was decided it was too much. And I think chat could correct me maybe. I think they went to 3 pre-season tests. I'm trying to think. In sort of the early 2000s, I feel like it was 3 pre-season tests. And what you tended to have was Jerez in Spain. In fact, early part of Sebastian Vettel's career, and definitely Lewis Hamilton tested in Jerez, because I think when Lewis Hamilton first went to Mercedes, he had a massive crash. There was some kind of brake failure. He was absolutely fine, but the car was written off. I remember that quite well, actually. I'm sure that was at Jerez, and there was quite a lot of worry, but news came out that it was okay, sort of thing. But it was meant to have been a massive shunt when that happened, and I'm sure that was right in the beginning of his Mercedes days. But there used to be Jerez, and we've seen testing tons and tons of times at Catalonia in Spain as well. So they go to sort of a warm climate and do some testing. But this year, I think this is the first year of 1 pre-season test. Can you guys... I'm pretty sure this is the first season, right? And this is all to do with cost saving within Formula One. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Wayne. This is to do with cost saving in Formula One. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Let's be real about it. Get them all set up in one place, ready for the first race, do the test there, and then they're embedded. They're there, aren't they? They're not flying all over the world. And we've got a 3-day test. And like I say, we're going to be covering that. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button. Now, the next thing, that I just wanted to talk about what you might see on the cars. Again, some people might have seen these and not know what they're for. Some people might not have ever seen one of these devices on a Formula One car. So I thought I'd just explain for a few minutes about the different sensors and so on and so forth that you see on a Formula One car. Now, these are called Aero Rakes, or that's what they're commonly known as. That's what I've seen them called a lot. And what you can see there is just a massive sort of apparatus, and it has what they call pitot sensors on the on big. Well, on the rakes, basically. And pitot sensors measure pressure. Now, you normally see a pitot sensor, or you can see a pitot sensor on the nose cone of a lot of F1 cars up towards around where the driver's feet or knees are. Sometimes they've got like an L-shaped metal bit, just one bit, and that's a pitot sensor, and it measures pressure. And they use those to measure speed. So you'll see these Aero Rakes like there on that Red Bull, or you may see them hanging off the back of the car behind the rear wing as well, and in various other places. They fit them all over the place. Now, what these do is measure the pressure of the air coming around the different parts of the bodywork. Now, everyone, not everyone, but lots of people say about Formula One and that everything should be flat out all the time, and that's how it is. Testing doesn't work this way, and we're going to talk about this a bit more. But with these Aero Rakes, basically, they can't go full speed. The idea is literally to learn how the air is reacting with the different aerodynamic surfaces. And now you'll have heard recently about the Red Bull wind tunnel sort of penalty and such. Now, what F1 teams are looking for is a correlation. So they're looking for data to marry up between the wind tunnel, their CFD, their computer simulations, and real life. So when they know they have that, then they can proceed developing with a lot of confidence. And when that doesn't work, McLaren had a real problem with this a few years ago. Mercedes had somewhat of a problem with this last year as well. When it does work, though, what they're basically doing here is going, right, we want the air to do something like this. This is what our simulations say. This is what the wind tunnel says. Let's have a look what it's doing in real life. And that shows them how accurate their computer simulations are and what the wind tunnel's saying. And if the real life is saying the same, they're on the right track, right? But in real life, something odd might be happening. And then they have to figure out why. And that is where testing comes in. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the Red Bull must be going around Bahrain at lap record speed. They may be they might be going round at what is quite slow, 100 mile an hour, say, just cruising around, and you'll see a car with these aero rakes on, seemingly crawling around the circuit, and then I don't know, a Drugovich in an Aston Martin coming around the track really, really fast. But it's because they're on a different methodology of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to learn. So Formula One is way more intricate than flat out all the time. And I really thought it was useful to sort of add this section just to sort of tell people, because I'm sure a lot of you are very aware of this, but I'm really trying to cater for people who may not have seen testing before. Again, I think we're all aware, if we're long-term F1 fans, there's been a huge injection of fans into Formula One, and I really want to try and help them understand and make the most of the Formula One experience. Same with the FlowViz. Now, that's a good one, Harry. I'd forgotten about that. I don't have a picture of it. What you may well see as well, guys, is... Cheers for that, Harry. Really, I forgot about FlowViz completely. What you might see is really, really bright green or yellow. You sometimes see like a pinkish colour paint on the cars. And that is somewhat of a low-tech way of seeing the airflow over the cars as well. So what you might see sometimes is like half of the car sprayed in what they call FlowViz, and it just looks like paint on the car. And what they're doing is looking at how the air is interacting with the aerodynamic surfaces. And because the liquid will sort of move, and then it kind of sets where the air is moving, and it gives the aerodynamicists, they literally take pictures of it and send it back to the factory, but it gives the aerodynamicists and engineers on the ground something to look at and go, oh, it's doing this, and then they can feed that back with the pictures back to factory. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if little upgrades are between the testing and between the race. Nothing crazy. They can't produce a front wing in that time. If something like a front wing arrives for the first race next week that wasn't at testing, it's already basically finished. They can't produce something like that. But little aerodynamic flicks and stuff like that, then maybe it's possible. Craig saying, I remember when I first saw them and thought there was a radiator on the side of the cars. Yeah, ooh, what's this year? This is new. But there's FlowViz, there's Aero Rakes, and yeah, cheers for that, Harry. I totally forgot about FlowViz, so cheers. Now, sandbagging. This is a bit of a subject. This would be the first testing in about 10 years. I've not heard, well, not 10 years, maybe 5 years. I've not heard the term sandbagging if nobody says it. But almost certainly people are going to talk about one team or another sandbagging. Right? This ties in with what I was just saying about the aero rakes and stuff. It's very easy to get bogged down on lap times and the charts, and to just to say, oh, Mercedes. We'll say Mercedes because it's Mercedes that have been accused of it a lot. It's easy to say, oh, Mercedes are 10th and 12th. They're sandbagging, right? What do people mean? Sandbagging, that they're not going as fast as they possibly could, right? And people say it a lot. But I think it is a completely fundamental misunderstanding of what testing is. Okay, they need data, and data isn't necessarily about raw speed, right? It's about everything I've just explained with the Aero Rakes and the Flo viz and seeing how cars react in certain circumstances. It's the time of the season where they'll probably do really weird stuff with the car just to see how it reacts. Mercedes will no doubt be one of those teams this year doing really random things with the car just to see how it behaves. They'll be doing high fuel runs, low fuel runs. They'll be going to extremes with suspension and dampers and roll and wing settings and all sorts of things. They'll be running through lots and lots of different cooling packages, cooling ducts, all sorts of different things, which doesn't necessarily mean pace, right? But that's no matter, because the more data they get, it's more important for them to get data now than it ever has been. And that's because of everything you already all know, right? You already all know about cost cap. You already know about wind tunnel restrictions. You all know about CFD restrictions. So F1 testing certainly isn't about Max Verstappen getting in the Red Bull and going flat out. Now, sometimes you do see that. Now, what is it? Saturday, 4 o'clock, 30 minutes to go. Maybe you might see a Max, a Lewis, or a surprise team jump out, but they don't necessarily want to do that either, because it's showing their hand, right? And that's part of what it is. Now, it's not sandbagging to stick to your thing, to stick to your routine and not do a fast quali lap, right? That isn't sandbagging. Sandbagging is deceptively going slow and stuff like that. Now, it has happened extremely rarely, but it's nowhere near as prevalent as people, for some reason, would like to believe. Sometimes it's rivals knowing that a team is a threat, but also I think it's fans of one team or another having hope that their team is sandbagging. Now, I've forgotten what I've put on the last screen. I think I'm going to ask you guys about what you think. But I don't think sandbagging is particularly a thing, because it doesn't serve any purpose. Them going slower, then yeah, it's a thing. A big surprise will be Williams' fastest day one of practice. I mean, again, I wouldn't. Honestly, the Prime Spike saying big surprise Williams being fastest day one of practice. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if an Aston, a Williams, a Haas was the fastest on day one of practice, because of everything I've just said. None of day one test, nothing matters unless you're talking about the race. Nothing matters about pace, you know. Harry says we won't know who's truly fastest till Q3 Bahrain quali. Yes, indeed, and I'll be here for the watch along for that. I can't wait. Ian says again, though, with more races and not an increase in engines, if I'm right, we might even see some slow races, not by massive amounts, but to eke out the engines. I'm not so sure about that, Ian. I'm not so sure about that, but you could possibly see you could probably see in testing and in practice sessions them turn down. But I think when races happen, races be races. Or you'd see, I think the only thing you'd see is race management by the different drivers. You know, if a Max is in the lead, a Lewis, an Alonso, whoever you want to put in the lead. If they've got a lead, they might do the normal management of engine. But I don't think we're going to see. I'm trying to think of the word. Artificially slow races because of reliability. Honestly, Craig, I see sandbagging being more of a thing during free practice during a Grand Prix weekends. Yeah, I probably actually, Craig, probably, yeah. Yeah, you can't take what happens in testing at face value. Gled saying, I think they'll get an idea of who's quickest. They normally come out and do quali run on the last day. Well, again though, Gled, it's impossible to tell, isn't it, mate? This is kind of what I'm saying. Like, what is a quali run, and how do you know they're doing it? Like, you could see a Ferrari go a second quicker, but how do you know that the Red Bull and the McLarens or the Mercedes or the Astons have done a low fuel quali run? It's difficult. It's like you can. I never place any weight on it. Like, we could see Max absolutely miles ahead and everyone doom and gloom, and then we could see Charles get pole a week on Saturday, you know, because I'm Craig Slater. But that's my 2 cents on sandbagging. I don't think it's a thing. Now, this section now, just the last few minutes, really, I wanted your input. I wanted to talk about the testing, what you think we're going to see. Do you think we're gonna see? Anything surprising? Do you think I'm wrong about the sandbagging? Do you think any teams are going to be surprising? Williams, I actually chose this picture because I think they've made a step forward. Now, have they made a step forward to be competitive on the likes of a Red Bull or something like that? No, I don't think they have. But I don't know. It's the way Albon. I'm probably placing far too much weight on it, but it's the way Albon got out of the car at the shakedown and he was beaming. He was very happy, and he's driven that. Williams a lot. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be up at the front, but wouldn't it be great if they've made a jump to be genuine, like, midfield contenders on the regular, that they really are fighting for points often, and it's not a shock if they get a point or two fairly often. I'd love to see that kind of step from Williams personally, and I think it's a possibility. When we look, John reminded me actually, when we look at the recent history of Williams, I believe it was when Paddy Lowe was involved at Williams, they didn't even make it to the first test in Catalonia, if memory serves, or they missed the first 2 days of it or something. I seem to remember that. Harry's saying, I guess you could loosely base it on times. Yes, quality times from the previous year. You could actually look at that. But then how much have they gained in the off season? You know. The only thing that worries me about Williams is the Logan Sargent thing, and but this section wasn't particularly about the Williams. Who do you think is going to be strong? What do you think we're going to see? And I mean, you know, biases aside, I feel like Red Bull are going to be strong. There's the rumors about their chassis being 3 kilos lighter when it was homologated. Now, last season there was all kinds of rumors going about their extra super light chassis because of the way the weave the carbon and all kinds of stuff, that it was super, super light when compared to any other team. And then there was more rumours circulating in January that this one was 3 kilos lighter on top of that, and which just makes it just extremely light, which that, if it's true, that's a warning shot across the bow of every other team that wants to be competitive, especially when you see teams like Mercedes taking every millimetre of paint they possibly can off the car. It shows that they're really trying to weight shed, and that they've probably still got a heavy car, and weight is king in Formula One. So I think we're going to see a strong Red Bull, because obviously as well, one key thing that needs to be remembered is weight. Apart from the outright speed of the car, weight also affects the tyres, right? Because when you're going around the corners, there's less weight, there's less lateral force going on the tyres and everything like that. So a lightweight car means better tyre performance, means longer stints, means less pit stops, means not falling off the cliff, and we saw evidence of that last season with the with Red Bull. Their tyre performance was astronomical compared to other teams, it's a worrying thing for me as a Formula One fan, but as a Red Bull fan, people will be loving that idea, right? We also need to remember Adrian Newey is a wizard, but as reported, Craig, is only 50-50. He's not full-time on Red Bull anymore, and he hasn't been for a couple of years, so they're doing some mega work. And on that, Pascal saying Aston Martin will surprise, I think, right? I need to do a video on their side pods, actually. Their side pods are mad. It's worth noting with the Red Bull and Aston Martin thing, I have reported this, but the Aston Martin have got one of the top guys from Red Bull, Dan Fallows, is their technical chief now. So Aston Martin really have some expertise and recent top-end F1 winning mentality and experience and skill and thought in their team now. And they've got my favourite driver, Fernando Alonso. If they've got anything, I think Aston could be a surprise, but I still think really Aston Martin. I'm looking at their factory and stuff, and I still can't help but feel they're shooting for the 2026 regulations to be right up there. But they may do it earlier. I mean, they don't want to wait 3 years, obviously, but I feel like this is a transitional team, Aston Martin, and that they're moving that way and they're moving the right way. It just might be a little bit far. But I felt a while with Aston Martin that they're only a couple of steps away from being extremely competitive. Maybe not in the big three club, but right up there, Now, he said it in chat, Alpine, right? Now, the chap who invited me down to Alpine was in chat the other day, and he said, he works at Alpine. He said they've never had so much work on before a season. He's been extremely busy, and he has a very good feeling about this season. Now, could the might of Renault/Alpine be making a comeback? Now, look, Renault, Alpine, they've won lots in Formula One. Lots and lots and lots and lots. And let's not forget, it was a Renault-powered Red Bull that won Vettel, I think, his titles. Could Alpine be a shock? Could they be right up there? It's certainly a possibility. They've got the funding, they've got the backing, they've got the facilities, they've got technical staff. Could they be up there? Ocon and Gasly as the drivers. I think there could be. Who else have we got? AlphaTauri. Is anyone else a bit like AlphaTauri? Are the slightly distant cousin that you hardly see, and you're never quite sure what they're gonna do because they're a bit odd. I don't really know how else. I don't know how to phrase it, and I don't know where that analogy came from. But AlphaTauri, I never consider them ever in anything. And I can't be the only... I don't know if I'm the only one with that. Does anyone? I don't know. I mean, they've got Nick De Vries this season, and I'm looking for him to do some stuff, because I think he's far better than Tsunoda. But I never know what to expect from AlphaTauri. I never know what to expect from him. But they might do a bit of something in testing. I don't know. I never know about them. They're an odd team. McLaren apparently aren't very happy. About sandbagging, AlphaTauri does it now. The only thing we have is a couple of pictures. I don't know what that means, Pascal. Sorry, mate. But there we are. There was the testing preview. There was a few things about testing. Hopefully that was helpful to people who are newer to Formula One. And it explained a few things, I hope. Craig saying AlphaTauri seem to turn up for a few races a year but tend to be invisible most of the time. Yeah, I'm kind of like that with them. They're a bit of an odd one, aren't they? But hopefully that helped some people. Hopefully that explained a few things. Tomorrow morning at this time, we'll probably be ending our first testing roundup sort of news bit of what we've seen. It's going to be a busy morning for me tomorrow, getting everything together in time for 9 a.m. I'll probably have to get up earlier and keep an eye on the news and just get images together for you guys. All right, but thank you so much for joining me. Please do make sure you've hit that like button and subscribed to the channel. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. with the first testing sort of update, and then 2 p.m. tomorrow, and then 5 p.m. tomorrow. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.